A few months ago, I reviewed the Vespera Pro Smart telescope from Vaonis, and in that video I argued that this type of telescope can deliver good results, reaching a level of performance where one can't simply dismiss these as a gimmick anymore. Well, now Vaonis just announced the second generation of the Pro line, promising significantly improved optics and therefore results. And this is reason enough for me to want to test it and put it head to head with the original one to see how much of an improvement it really represents. So grab a cup of coffee and relax, because this is going to be a good one. Hi, I'm Bogdan Damian and welcome to another video review. Vaonis is a relatively young company, but they have built a solid reputation over the last few years by specializing in premium optics and integrating them with automated software. Their most popular line is the Vespera series, and at this year's NIF, they announced two new additions to the family, the Vespera 3 and the unit we are testing today, the Vespera Pro II. So let's take it out of the box and take a better look at it. Just like its predecessor, the Vespera Pro II arrives in a foam inlaid hard case. It's a very practical inclusion for an instrument that is also marketed on its portability. Taking it on flights as a carry-on is absolutely no problem this way. Inside you get the essentials to get started: the telescope itself, an adjustable tripod, and a built-in hygrometer sensor for the automatic dew management, and a lens cap. Noticeably absent, however, is a power brick and a USB-C charging cable. While this is becoming a common trend in consumer electronics, omitting basic charging accessories on premium devices like this one is a questionable decision. Filters need to be purchased separately as well if you want to squeeze every drop of performance out of the telescope. At least all Vespera filters will fit on this new model as well. But let's look at the included components individually, starting with the tripod. And here I just come out and say it, it's one of the better tripods I had the pleasure testing so far. Made out of carbon fiber with aluminum components, it is very light while simultaneously being very steady and solid. It also features a level indicator and comes with its own carrying bag, which is nice. The legs extend in two steps to a maximum height of 91 centimeters, which is enough to get the Vespera Pro II to peek over most fences and bushes. Now to the telescope. Design-wise, it retains the same look as its predecessor. A pill-shaped glossy hard plastic shell with a singular capacitive button on the side and an USB-C port at the bottom. While I do like the minimalistic look, I also wish they would have chosen a more durable material for the shell, something like aluminum for example. Despite that, the Vespera Pro II feels remarkably solid and well constructed, proving its status as a high-end instrument. And just like the predecessor, this one is also weatherproofed, and you should be fine even if a bit of rain or snow catches it outside. New with the second generation is also the capability to transfer files through the USB-C port with speeds up to 30 megabytes per second, which is a very welcomed upgrade compared to the older model where only a slower wireless transfer over Wi-Fi was possible. But aside from the tripod and USB connectivity, we haven't seen many upgrades yet to justify the new version. But there is one major change, trust me. While most of the internals were kept the same coming from the previous generation, the one area that saw the most upgrades is thankfully the optical system. Here Vaonis completely redesigned the optics. We are now looking at slightly faster optics, f4.9 versus f5 on the old model. The lenses inside are now grouped differently. Two front elements followed directly by a third lens and a rear corrective lens right in front of the sensor. So a total of 4 lenses in 3 groups. Among these 4 lenses, 2 are ED or low dispersion. This combined with a new optical baffling alongside the interior of the optical tube should increase color accuracy, improve contrast and reduce noise caused by stray light. In theory, by reducing unwanted light, the number of rejected frames should also be reduced, enabling faster and more efficient image stacking. But we shall see how good this actually works under real conditions later in the video. The optical sensor stayed the same. It's the well-regarded IMX676 Starvis 2 sensor from Sony with a resolution of 12.5 megapixels and a pixel size of 2 microns. It's a square format sensor that combined with the rest of the optical system can achieve a 1.6 by 1.6 degrees of field of view. Using the mosaic mode, the resolution goes up to 50 megapixels and the field of view to 3.2 by 3.2 degrees, which is plenty wide to capture even the larger of the deep sky objects. To further improve image quality, the Vespera Pro II, just like its previous model, sports a built-in UV IR cut filter with a bandpass from 430 to 680 nanometers. The rest of the specs stayed the same as well. 256 GB of storage, out of which only 440 GB-ish are available for image storage. The battery has a capacity of 10,000 milliamps and according to Vaonis should last a whole night without a problem. Alright, enough specs. Let's see some actual images captured under real-world conditions. First, let's check out NGC2264, which combines two beautiful deep sky objects, the Cone Nebula on one side and the Christmas tree cluster on the other. Here is a 50 minutes worth of data captured from my backyard. To get more details out of the objects, I used a dual band filter. This is the final JPEG presented by the telescope after it did its magic. You can clearly see the Cone Nebula and the Christmas tree above it. The image is a bit grainy, but this can be much improved by manually editing the final TIFF file. Keep in mind that we are talking about a merely 2-inch wide aperture. There is bound to be noise in the initial image as the gain is cranked all the way up. The stars are also round and don't display any signs of color fringing, which is always nice to see. The next target was M81 and M82, two very nice looking galaxies and one of my favorite targets this time of the year. This is the result of a 45-minute exposure after auto-processing. For this session, I used the CLS light pollution filter. There are some nice details visible in both objects, like the spiral arms on M81 and the jets coming from the center of M82. Really nice for only 45 minutes of data. On the next target, I spent a bit more time capturing because I really like how it looks and was keen on finding out what the telescope can do if I gave it 2 hours instead of only 1 or less. I'm talking about M51 or the Whirlpool Galaxy. What I like about this DSO is that it's not only a perfect example of a spiral galaxy, but it's also a very rare situation where we can see two galaxies directly interact with each other, both pulling matter from the other. And Here the Vespera Pro II managed to extract a good deal of detail, enough to be able to show you just how awesome this interaction between these two galaxies is. This image was taken with no additional filter, but the built-in UV IR cut filter. To put all these improvements into perspective, I believe it makes sense to compare the results to those generated by the first Vespera Pro. Luckily, I still have the original lying around, which allowed me to test both of them side by side under identical conditions. This means both for skies and decent seeing conditions. The first thing I noticed was how much faster the initialization process is compared to the older model. By my estimates, it's on average 20 to 30% faster, which roughly translates into a minute or so of time saving during setup, which obviously isn't a lot, but it's still nice to know that you can now get to pick a target faster. Other than this, the software experience and the first steps are identical between the two generations of telescopes, which is a good thing, as I really enjoy how everything is integrated into the Singularity app. In fact, if you are curious about every feature inside the app, I encourage you to check out my review of the original Vespera Pro. I leave a link in the description below. In terms of image quality, the differences best become visible when comparing the results side by side. In this first shot, I pointed both telescopes at M81 and M82. Here we can see that the redesigned optical system of the Vespera Pro II does have an effect on the final image. It's rather subtle, but if we examine the images more closely, we can see that the Pro II produces less noise and the stars are tighter, presenting less halo around the point of light. This can be best seen when zooming in on close or double stars. In the Pro II image, these are easier to distinguish than in the image coming from the previous model. A similar effect can be observed when looking at NGC 2264. There is overall less noise in the image of the Pro II, and the stars look a bit better with less halo. All this while retaining the same levels of detail in the main object, the nebula itself. In order to check the flatness of the field of view and the color correcting ability of the optics, we can take a look at M44. Looking at the edges and corners while zooming in, we can see that both telescopes offer very flat field of views, while the ability to correct the light at different wavelengths is on point on both models. So no improvements here, but this is because the original Pro was already very good in this regard. Alright, so after looking at the results, it's safe to say that the image improvements the second generation of the Vespera Pro brings with it aren't big, but rather subtle. They build upon what was, in my opinion, a very solid foundation established by the previous model. These results are also consistent with what the theory predicted, namely better contrast, less noise, tighter stars, and a faster image acquisition thanks to the redesigned optical system. But are these improvements significant enough to justify a whole new generation of telescopes? Well, yes and no. For example, I'm a huge fan of the new tripod and I do enjoy the new USB connectivity as well. These aspects represent a major step up from the previous version, and the overhauled optics definitely provide superior results. It is also likely that performance will continue to improve as the Singularity app receives further updates. So while the original Vespera Pro managed to close the gap to a traditional astrophotography setup considerably, the new Vespera Pro II shrinks that gap even further. Speaking of telescope generations, inside the Vespera family, after reaching out to Vaonis, I can confirm that the original Pro version will be discontinued moving forward, and the Vespera II will remain as the entry point model. What's really good though is that Vaonis also confirmed future software support for all Vespera models, new and old. That said, since so many other components remain unchanged, I can't help but feel that this version might be more accurately be described as a very potent Vespera Pro 1.5. Nevertheless, it's a great piece of tech, and if you think of getting into smart telescopes or find yourself missing the time to spend outside night after night with a traditional rig, the Vespera Pro II is definitely worth considering. Anyway, that's been it. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about the Vespera Pro II and about smart telescopes in general. I'm very much looking forward to reading your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching and catch you guys in the next one.